Well, hello, and welcome to the second official edition of Drop In with Dave. My name's David Sandoval. I am an author, I am a former radio show host, and I'm a lecturer. But I think more importantly than any of that, I'm an activist. I'm an activist who has not stopped being an activist almost my entire life. From the very earliest of my remembrances, I have seen injustice in the world. I've seen unnecessary suffering. I've seen inequality. And I've seen, quite honestly, people who could do better. People who could do better in helping others. People who could do better in helping themselves. People who could do better in facing the truth about the state of and the reality that we find ourselves in. And the reality I find myself in as an activist is one where I have to manage my anger. I have to manage my disgust. I have to manage, quite honestly, sometimes my fury, because I get really angry, I get disgusted, and I get furious about things. And I need to channel that. I need to channel that energy in a constructive way so that we could turn, all of this disgust and anger into positive energy. And so I want you guys to join me right now, and I want you to realize that we can make change. I want you to look over my shoulder here. Wrong shoulder. My shoulder over here. And I want you to notice those eyes. I want you to notice that mouth. And I want everybody to do that happy eyes, because there's psychoneuroimmunology that says that when we're smiling, really awesome stuff happens in our body. So let's take a minute and curl up the edges of our eyes, and let's curl up the edges of our mouth, and let's just smile with our entire body, with our eyes, with our mouth, and let's know that, we got a big job to do. We do. There's a lot to be angry about, but there's so much more to be hopeful about. And when there's hope, when we have hope, we have everything. And so this show here, it's as much about hope as anything. It's as much about, channeling those energies that we get, those ones that roil us up, that fire in our belly. And I don't want that fire to burn us down. Okay, I don't want it to burn us down. I want it to be an ember. I want it to be an ember that starts a bonfire of protest, a bonfire of disgust, a bonfire of anger that says, you know what? We're mad, but we're not just going to sit down. We're not going to take it anymore. Okay, we're going to do something about it. I'm not going to sit silently. I can't sit silently while people suffer and while people die. I can't sit silently while people are being poisoned. Okay, and so we have this this process. We have this process that we go through in our minds where it takes us time to accept sometimes the situation we're in. It takes us time sometimes to accept, that we could do something about the situation we're in. And so what I want to do is I want to tell you now about a huge problem that you may or may not know about. And that problem is called glyphosate poisoning. And I want to invite you, as I said earlier, I'm an author. My first book was called The Green Food Bible. And in the Green Food Bible, I sort of just laid out, my philosophy, my history, my background, some basic concepts about nutrition. And, that book was written about 10 years ago. Is it 100% right? Have I changed some of my positions since then? One or two, but not a lot. And not in a significant way. Because once you find out the truth, you know what that truth is. But my second book, called The Toxin That Came to Dinner, I actually made it pretty short, 60 short pages, because I wanted everyone to be able to read it cover to cover pretty quickly. Because the information in it is that important. The information in it is that vital to our survival right here, right now, as human beings. Because 97% of the people, according to a study done 5 years ago, 97% of the people that were studied have a cancer-causing chemical detectable in their blood. Okay, and that's a real recipe for disaster. And I'm going to get more into that at the end of the show. We're about 5 minutes into the show. I'm going to spend a couple more minutes talking about some of the things we're going to cover today. I'm going to talk about pet nutrition. People are writing me. They're asking me, what do I do about my pet? What do I do about my best friend? What do I do about my little, toy poodle? What do I do about my Great Dane and everything in between? I think I have some answers that you're going to want to know. Veterinarians are telling me that they've seen unprecedented levels of tumors, of fatty acid liver disease, of all types of diabetes and different things happening, asthma, skin conditions, all of these things happening to animals at a much higher rate than it had ever happened before. And I believe that we could do something about that with a little simple practice, a little simple nutrition. We might be feeding human products to dogs in a good way, because usually when we give human food to animals, it's not a good thing. But in this case, I'm going to show you some of the supplements that are typically for humans, and we're going to show you how to use those for your pets. And so another thing we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you a secret on how to do, let's say that you're next to somebody who has a heart attack. Would you know what to do? Well, a lot of people have taken courses and they know, okay, if somebody has a heart attack, I do chest compressions every 2 seconds, right? Keep that rhythm of the heart going. I could do mouth-to-mouth resuscitation to push oxygen deep into their lungs. People have learned those. They've been altered over the years. Sometimes mouth-to-mouth is not required. Sometimes chest compressions are the only thing that's needed. But what happens if you're the one who has the heart attack? What happens if there's nobody around? So I'm going to teach you a technique that will save your life, that can and will save your life and the lives of people you know. And I'm going to share that with you during this show as well. Another thing we're going to cover is some super basic nutrition. I'd like to teach you everything I could in one single show, and I'm chomping at the bit to share everything with you as soon as I can. But I realized that we've got to crawl before we walk, before we run. You're going to get to know me. You're going to get to trust me. I believe that you'll begin to follow me regularly if you know me and trust me. And so in order to build that trust, I want to share some basic concepts about nutrition. This has nothing to do with a lifestyle. It has nothing to do whether you're a vegetarian, a vegan, whether you're paleo, whether you're keto. I'm not going to go into those things yet. I'm going to talk about some basic nutritional facts for you to understand and know and apply to any lifestyle that you might choose, because that's one thing we don't do on this show is judge, and we don't direct you on a lifestyle. We try to guide you toward knowledge that will allow you to make the best choices, because that's what you do with responsible human beings. You speak to them intelligently, you educate them, provide them with facts, and then you sit back and let them make their own choices based upon their view of facts and reality, because with everybody it is different. And so again, my name is David Sandoval. You are watching Drop In with Dave. I'm going to try to do this every Monday through Friday, and this is my second of those shows. If you wonder, am I Buddhist because of the Buddha behind me? I just value knowledge, and I value the humility that Buddha showed, the non-violence, and so there's a lot of tenets of Buddhism I absolutely do admire. I also am deeply into science and logic and those type of things, so I admire people like, of course, Albert Einstein, and I try to learn from all of the brilliant people throughout history. And so these two are simply representing wisdom and patience and compassion, the knowledge and the wisdom and the science to my over this shoulder, and that compassion and that prayerfulness and that happy face, that joy, that being able to realize that joy and peace and serenity are every bit as healing as any science or medicine. So that's what that represents, in case you are wondering. And so everybody, again, go into those happy eyes, go into that happy face, because that's where good things happen. So again, a little bit about me. Not too much, but I want you to know. I live on a 160-acre nature preserve 200 miles from Los Angeles, about 70 miles from Bakersfield, which means there's no polluting industry close to me at all. I live at 3,500 foot elevation, surrounded by 8 and 9,000 foot mountains, 360 degrees, which means that I am breathing really pure air. I drink spring water, the most amazing spring water that comes right out of the ground. It's called artesian spring water, and I get to drink and bathe in that every single day. I don't have noise pollution, light pollution. I don't have electronic pollution, which is why I'm not live streaming to you. I need to record this and then upload it once I am in a place that has sufficient internet service to do so. So I'm lucky enough, I have a composting toilet. I'm a little bit weird that way. But the bottom line is, I feel that while I may be far away from you physically, I feel like we're sitting in the same room emotionally. I feel like we're sitting in the same room, in a psychic sense, because we are one body, we're one person. That's what namaste means. I obviously, as you know, namaste means that, I admire that within you that is the same as that which is within me, for we are but one. And when it comes down to it, all human beings are so much alike, and our differences are so few. I have been lucky to meet royalty. I have been lucky to be homeless. I have been lucky to know people from all walks of life, billionaires and A-list celebrities, to those suffering in hospitals near death. And I could tell you something that really has struck me and that I want to share with you, is that no matter how much money you have, when you eat, you need to go to the toilet. And no matter how much money you have, when you love, your heart aches. And no matter how much money you do or don't have, when you eat, you have to go to the toilet. And no matter how much money you don't have, when you love, and it sometimes your heart could ache. So the things that separate us, we need to sleep. You know what I mean? We need to eat. And we love. We form emotional attachments, and humans are so very much alike. And so I want to talk about our heart, not just in that way, but I also want to talk about our heart in a physiological way, because if we have a heart attack, I want to teach you a technique that you could use that's a little bit like giving yourself CPR. So the purpose of CPR is to create a regular rhythm and give a regular rhythm back to the heart. Okay, boom, 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 boom. But you can't push the heart too hard, because you have to let the heart sort of pick itself up. So what you're going to do, if you're all alone and you realize that you're having a heart attack, okay, your words are slurring, your arm hurts, you have shortness of breath, tightness in your chest, it feels like somebody's sitting on your chest, you need to do something immediately. You need to give yourself in self-induced CPR. And here's the way it works. You're going to take the deep a breath as you can, and you're going to cough that breath out in 3 quick coughs. Every 2 seconds. So think 1,001, 1,002, 1,001, 1,002. In that time, I want you to inhale as deep as you can and exhale, cough, cough, cough. Inhale, cough, cough, cough. Inhale, cough, cough, cough. Deep coughs, like you're trying to push something out of your lungs. If you do this, you have to keep doing it until you feel that your heart is beating its own rhythm again, or until help arrives. You might be doing it 20 minutes, but you're going to feel good as you breathe in that oxygen and cough it out. You will literally be doing self-CPR, and it could save your life. Now, let's move on. Let's move on to pet nutrition, okay? How do we save our best friend's life? Not if they have a heart attack, but again, the reason why most dogs are dying is from diabetes, it's from tumors, It is from, fatty acid liver disease. It is from different conditions like that. And so what I want to do is I want to share with you some of the human nutrition products that I personally use, that I have used with pets. Now, I am not a veterinarian, so I'm going to advise you to get approval from your veterinarian before you give your dogs these things. Just in case, I'm covering myself. But the bottom line is, if you look at big dogs especially, they have hip problems, they have joint problems, they have arthritis, and it could be horrible. It could cause them from being able to exercise, and when they can't exercise, they're going to become obese and probably get diabetes. Once they get diabetes, because of all the sugar issues that they have, they're probably going to develop fatty acid tumors, and this is a cycle that's very deadly for our dogs. And so what I want to do is recommend a few things that I think are really, really important. First of all, we have a product called Joint Flex. And Joint Flex is actually created for human beings to help relieve inflammation and pressure and to actually help rebuild some of the cartilage that might have been lost through wear and tear over time. You might not realize it, but just like your liver, as long as you have a little to build upon, if you give it the right nutrients and eat the right foods, then your cartilage could actually rebuild itself. And there are certain, elements called Arjuna and Guggalipid and different herbs that have come to us from Ayurvedic medicine that help us to do exactly that. And so through reducing inflammation, increasing circulation, helping rebuild the cartilage, we could really, really give life back to our aging animals who are suffering from this, skeletal degradation, either from running or because of their size or their weight. If you own a big dog, you know exactly what I am talking about. Now, the next thing that I worry about with dogs are, fatty acid tumors and different things like that. Now, what I have found is that by administering chlorella is a microalgae that has a ribonucleic acid that helps to regulate cell replication. And I've found that by getting chlorella into the dogs, and they will love it, by the way, you might make them take one tablet, just like push it into their mouth or force it in there if that's what you need to do. But once they've had one and they chew it, they're going to love it, and they're going to eat a lot of those tablets. Now, I want you to understand it may seem expensive at the beginning because your dog might actually eat an entire bottle of chlorella tablets in the first 3 to 4 days. The good news is they're only doing that because they really need it. And the better news is that they're going to start to not want them after a few days of just giving them a few tablets because they know that it's doing their job. Now, you're going to, by watching their bodies, by feeling their bodies, you're going to see a big change in their musculature. If you feel tumors underneath their skin, you might be surprised at what happens in just a week of administering chlorella. And again, I'm not saying that chlorella cures the tumors, not at all. I'm saying that it has an ability to regulate the way that your body works, and when your body starts regulating itself in this way, your body acts against those tumors, is my belief, but I don't even know how or why it works. I just know that it is really, really effective with the animals I've been using it with for over 20 years, not as a veterinarian, just as a practitioner of love, a practitioner of sort of phytochemistry and, being a little bit of an alchemist. I've experimented with things. I've done a little bit of biohacking with my own animals and my friends' animals, and this stuff really, really works. And so those two things are incredible. But I want to warn you about something that you may not know about, and that is a chemical, a carcinogenic chemical that is known by the World Health Organization, was called a probable carcinogen and human health hazard several years ago by the World Health Organization. Recently, the state of California has confirmed that it is a probable carcinogen. And of course, Los Angeles City, the city of Los Angeles and county, has banned the use of Roundup and glyphosate in our parks and around public buildings. But that is really a new development. What you need to know is that the rate of increase in these conditions like diabetes and arthritis and cancers and fatty acid tumors, etc., 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 is more than likely due to the fact that the guts of our animals have been destroyed. The digestive ability of our animals has been destroyed because they are being exposed to through dog food, which is, again, made oftentimes with grains. So a grain-free dog food is vital, but just walking on the grass, even just drinking water, there are so many places that dogs are being exposed to glyphosate. And so we have found that by detoxifying their gut and rebuilding their gut with a product called Biome Medic. Now, I'm talking about some products, and you may not even know where they come from. Well, they come from a company called Purium, Purium, and I'm going to name the products again: Biome Medic for repairing the gut microbiome, Joint Flex for helping the hips and the joints and the connective tissue, and then the third thing that we're going to recommend is chlorella. And chlorella is an algae that comes in tablet form, and ours is made in a very special way to make it highly digestible, and it's highly affordable as well. So if you're watching this video, it's probably because you know somebody who is connected with Purium, and they are going to help connect you to access to these products at iShopPurium. That's iShopPurium.com. So anyhow, moving on beyond, this pet poisoning, because it's so prolific, it is so dangerous. It really is one of those things that I'm a dog owner. I have a pit bull, I have a poodle. So I've got the whole pit and capoodle, and I love my animals. That's a laugh. Feel free to fill in the laugh track. I really do. I love my animals, and I want them to live forever. And I've seen dogs. I have helped dogs live to be 24 years old. I've helped horses live to be over 30 years old. I've seen it happen from the time they were 14 or so, when they started to die, and their parents came to me, their owners came to me, and I gave them my program, and miracles happened. Okay, we had horses siring, little babies in their 20s, over 25 even, and that's almost impossible. We had barrel horses who are 10 and 12 years old going back and winning, that's right, ribbons once again. We know how to rejuvenate animals with nutrition, but we do it with human products, and that is not always, kosher. They're like, hey, if you're not a veterinarian, how dare you give advice? So I'm going to ask you to ask your veterinarian, is this okay? That way we're covering all of our bases, but this is my strong recommendation to you. Now, as promised in version 1, I want to give you some information about macronutrition. And macronutrition is your basic nutrition. It's your protein, it's your fat, it's your carbohydrates, and I also include fiber. Even though fiber isn't a nutrient, macronutrients are needed on a pretty regular basis. They are the basis of your food chain, and without fiber to keep that moving, without fiber to keep cleansing, we're going to find that fiber is a nutrient, and people didn't realize that before, but we now know that certain fibers are nutrients, not in the form of a vitamin or a mineral, but fibers are nutrients in the form of food for bacteria. And our friendly bacteria, those bacteria that are our immune defense, that are defenders, those bacteria that we know as probiotics, the good bacteria, the gut bacteria, the food that they like more than anything are these fibers, these simple fibers that come from green vegetables. So if you're eating a lot of broccoli, a lot of asparagus, a lot of cabbage, a lot of celery, a lot of cilantro, then you're going to get these soluble fibers and these simple dietary fibers, and these are actually going to become powerful prebiotics, better than any prebiotic, better than any acidophilus you could buy, any yogurt you could use, anything like that. Green food is better than any dairy source base of probiotic, which is going to make our vegan friends happy, I am sure. So I definitely include fiber. Now, what type of fibers do we want? Well, like I said, green vegetable fiber is the very best. But some root fibers are good as well, like sweet potato fiber. And also, there's cactus. So, if you know what opuntia is a type of cactus called nopal, and they make something called nopalito. And nopalito is nothing more than sauteed cactus. And the fibers in that cactus are a tremendous source of a prebiotic. And this is why people know that tequila actually is good for your gut. The alcohol portion tends to kill off some germs, and then the prebiotic portion tends to grow our friendly bacteria. I am not encouraging the consumption of tequila. I'm only stating the facts. But anyway, let's talk more about nutrients. We have just a few minutes left in today's segment. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow in our Friday edition, and then we'll be back again on Monday, as I told you. So let's talk protein. You know, there's a lot of debate about protein and whether, the paleo diet is right, or whether, vegan protein is better. I could tell you only what I know about protein. And that is that when you consume animal protein, that your body actually gets a certain burden put upon it that you may not know about, called uric acid. Now, uric acid, or urea, if you know diarrhea, right? So diarrhea, this is an overproduction of uric acid, and that's really toxic in your body. So your body wants to push it out, right? So uric acid is the most toxic byproduct of eating food that is natural, okay? Because glyphosate, as we know, is in your food, and that's really toxic too. But not a chemical that was put in because of agricultural practices. But the most toxic chemical that comes as a result of digesting food is something called uric acid. And meat and the digestion of meat is the number one producer of uric acid. Again, eating white flour and simple carbohydrates also produces it. Sugar also produces it. Alcohol also produces it, but nothing produces it like eating meat. And uric acid is so toxic, okay? Uric acid is so toxic that when our bodies get too much of it, then we need to significantly purge it from our body by using some alkaline rinse, and alkaline water will never do it. Okay, so what we do is our body creates an enzyme called TFOS, and TFOS dissolves our bone and uses the dissolved calcium to buffer or neutralize the toxicity. It binds to the uric acid and protects our body from it. Now, once these little pellets of uric acid and calcium are found by the body, they're kicked into the kidney by the liver, and that's where they get stored. And ultimately, that leads to kidney stones. Now, for those of you who think I'm telling you never to eat meat, I've got some good news for you. Scientific studies show that when you eat meat and green vegetables at the same time, okay, when you eat meat and green vegetables at the same time, let's say a ratio of 1 meat gram to 3 green vegetable grams, which means having some broccoli and a salad along with your burger or steak, then you actually create a natural environment that binds uric acid in the meal that you're eating. And it protects your body. The TFOS is never produced. The osteopenia, the osteoporosis, and the kidney stones do not ensue. So if you're going to eat animal flesh, please make it organic. Please make it free range. Please make sure that it is ethically raised, please. And that it doesn't contain chemicals and antibiotics and hormones, please. And then bless it. If you're going to eat an animal that died for you to live, make sure that you are in great appreciation of that animal, that you bless it up in the best way you can. And I'm not judging. I don't do that. I'm not telling you how to eat. But I'm asking you in the kindest way that if you consume animal flesh, that you make sure that we minimize its impact on our environment, that you minimize its impact on your health, and you minimize its impact on our karma as well. So I've just got a few seconds left. I want to get into all of this. So I'm going to wind up tomorrow's show right now. I'm just going to continue in this same shirt. My name is David Sandoval. This has been Drop In with Dave. I'm so glad that you joined me. I ran over. I get a little enthusiastic, but thank you. I hope to see you tomorrow.